The Edifier NB2 Pro is a fantastic device, I've heard. All the reviewers are gushing about them, but the fact is, it's not actually available at retail. It's an Indiegogo crowdfunding campaign by Edifier to commemorate their 25th anniversary, and while you can place orders, they may not reach you for days, weeks, maybe even months. So instead, let's talk about something that is available today, the Edifier NB2 Pro. They're a cousin of the NB2 Pro, but unlike them, these can be ordered at your friendly neighborhood e-tailer and can be in your hands in a couple of days. So how good are they? Well, let's start with the presentation. They come in this little cardboard box that's made to look like leather and opens up much like a watch case. Inside you'll find the earbuds in their case nestled in a sea of grey foam. The kind of grey foam one would find in a watch case, but of a slightly more expensive watch. On the other side of the case is a little pull tab. Pull it open and you'll see that it's a little cardboard box. Inside the box you'll get a USB-C charging cable, some manuals, and a set of tips of different sizes. Honestly, the unboxing experience and the presentation is really quite premium and very surprising for a product of this price, so I'll very gladly give it an 8.5 out of 10. Now when it comes to design and build quality, we see that the case, much like the cardboard box it came in, is made to look like leather. But it's made from hard plastic instead. It does feel good to the touch. Open it up and you'll see that the earbuds similarly look quite striking. They are a little larger than I expected them to be, but quite honestly, they feel solid without being heavy. And I get the distinct impression that this device has been not only designed but also manufactured and finished with a level of polish and finesse that is reserved only for devices that are much more expensive. Now the design isn't perfect. Opening the case does get a little fiddly, and there is a charging light on the back that works on blinks to tell you how much charge there is in the case. More on that later, but overall for design and build quality, I'd give this a solid 7.5 out of 10. But how are they for actual fit and comfort? Well, compared to the AirPods Pro, which is our gold standard for pocketability, you can see that they're a little bit larger in every single dimension, but compared to all their other peers, they happen to be one of the slimmest cases around. So for comfort, I'm inclined to give it a 7.5 out of 10, except when you try and open the case, it does tend to be a little fiddly. Given that you're going to be doing this so many times a day, I do wish that lip was a little more pronounced, so I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 after all. As for the earbuds themselves, they do tend to be a little larger than I'd first expected, and they do jut out, as you can see. But I can tell you with confidence that over hours of listening, these things were very comfortable. Whether you're on an aircraft or you're gaming for hours on end, you might even almost forget that they're even there. So a solid 7.5 out of 10 for comfort. What is this fun? Who makes this kind of furniture? When it comes to features, this device is packed to the gills. It's got active noise cancelling, ambient sound mode, spatial audio, a low latency game mode, an IP54 dust and water resistance rating, quick charging. Frankly, the list goes on, and it is fantastic at this price point. So without hesitation, 8.5 out of 10 for features. When it comes to actual usability of the device, I get the distinct impression that the good folk at Edifier started development of the device with great vim and vigor at the beginning of the day, but come lunchtime, they all stepped out for a bit of a break. Before you knew it, lunch became coffee, coffee became happy hour, the evening went by, and the next day they just walked back into office and told their boss that it was done, when it wasn't quite done. Take for instance the case. Now there's an LED at the back of the case, a little red LED that tells you both charging status and the amount of charge the case holds. It does this with blinks. 1 blink for low battery, 3 blinks for full battery, and 2 for medium. I can't help but feel an RGB light would have just done the same with different colors and would have been much easier to use, but more importantly, it's on the outside of the case, which means you can check the level of charge in the case without opening it, right? Unfortunately, the LED only works when you open and close the case, which defeats the whole purpose of having it at the back of the case. Now you might make the argument that the whole point of that light is to show you whether it's charging or not, more than the actual charge level, but there's actually no other way to find out how much charge the case holds. The app doesn't show you, the earbuds don't tell you. This is it. And this continues with the earbuds itself. Now, the earbuds work on taps. 2 taps on either earbud to either accept or reject a call, or if you're not on a call, then 2 taps on the left earbud to switch between noise cancelling and ambient sound. 3 taps will switch between standard, spatial audio, and game mode. Similarly, on the right earbud, 2 taps for play and pause, and 3 taps for skipping to the next track. And that's it. There's no single tap, there's no tap and hold. There isn't even any way to adjust the volume on the earbuds themselves. Now the earbuds do have in-ear detection. So if you've got both earbuds on and you take one off, it pauses music. When you put it back on, it plays music again. But what if you wanted to use only your left earbud? You take the right earbud out, the music stops. How do you start playing again? You can't, because there is no music control on the left ear. You have to dive into your phone and resume playback. It's the same story with the right earbud. If you wanted to use the right earbud with some noise cancelling, you can't do it. Noise cancelling will only work with both earbuds in, and this is a bit of a problem if you were, say, in a crowded cafe, you were trying to take a phone call with only your right ear. You can't make use of that noise cancelling. And what's worse, the controls are not customizable at all, which means you're stuck with the way they come out of the box. This, I feel, is a little bit of an oversight, to say the least. But how do they work with the actual device? Well, they have fast pairing and it works well, but it only works with the last paired device. So if you've got multiple devices, first of all, it doesn't have multi-connect, so you can't switch between devices. But if, say, I've used it with my phone recently and I switch to the PC and I want to reconnect it back to the phone, it won't fast pair. I don't know if that's a problem with my unit alone or not, but it's definitely something I thought worth talking about. Now, Edifier does have a companion app called Edifier Connect, which actually comes with a couple of widgets that can be placed in the notification area of your Android phone or in any of your home screens. And quite frankly, it was very useful. Except the app only works with both Bluetooth and location services on. So if you wanted to use the app continuously while using the earbuds, you would have to have location services on, which would drain your phone's battery, and also you might just not be comfortable with that. Nonetheless, if that's not an issue, the app itself does look quite nice. It shows you the charge level of the earbuds, but not the case. It allows you to switch between noise reduction and ambient modes, and also between standard, spatial audio, and game modes. If you click on settings, you get access to the user manual and a few other nifty features, like being able to customize the level of sensitivity of the taps. This was quite important because out of the box, I found it to be a little bit too sensitive, where even touching the sides of the device would be registered as a tap. So that's a handy one. It also allows you to disable the in-ear detection, which is probably the only way you can remove one ear and have the music continue playing without having to go into your phone. So while I would give it top marks for features, for actual usability, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Not because it's not usable, but because it just seems a little bit half-baked in places. Which brings us to the sound quality. Okay, let's talk about noise cancelling first. If the Bose QC earbuds are the best noise cancelling that money can buy right now, and they are, then the AirPods Pro give you about 75% of that performance, and the Edifier NB2 Pro give about 50% of the performance, which is not bad for the money. But there are 3 scenarios I always use to test noise cancelling: at a cafe with ambient sounds, on the street with traffic noise, and in an aircraft. In the cafe, the Edifiers proved reasonably competent, but nowhere close to its pricier competitors. On the street, it's the same story, except I did notice that it seemed to amplify wind noise a little bit when you were using noise cancelling. That was a bit bothersome to me. Maybe that can be fixed in a firmware update, but right now that's the way it works. In an aircraft is where it got really interesting, because these things gave me 80 to 90% of the noise cancelling that I got from AirPod Pros. So if you happen to be a traveler and you spend a lot of time in aircraft, these will do pretty much the same thing the AirPods Pro do. They are very, very good. Now the ambient sound mode is pretty interesting too. If you go into the app, you'll see that it allows you to choose between 7 levels of ambient sound, from -3 to +3, including the 0 in between. I found -3 to be the most realistic transparent mode outside of the AirPods Pro, which is saying a lot because the AirPods Pro have the best transparent mode in the business. These things are a very close second at that -3. But if you prefer your earbuds to amplify your environmental sounds, then just turn that slider up to +3 and it'll give you that. It does both of those things and everything in between, and it gives you the option to choose what's best for you. Fantastic. But how does it do with actual sound quality for music, for instance? Well, it's definitely a V-shaped frequency curve, which means the lows and the highs are overemphasized, which is quite common at this price point. But unfortunately, I think Edifier went a little bit too far with this. See, the mid-range is actually pretty decent, but ends up getting drowned out by the lows and the highs, which is not a good thing. Add to that the fact that the bottom end of the sound generally sounded a little bit bloated and uncontrolled, and the highs verged on becoming harsh. They never quite became harsh, but on certain tracks, they were a little bit much, at least for my ears. So I would give the sound quality 5.5 out of 10 at most. I feel like Edifier was worried that this would be a boring sounded device, but to compensate, they went a little bit overboard. Now there's a fun little hack over here. Remember when I said they had spatial audio? It is a gimmick and it does give you some sense of having a wider soundstage or some sound virtualization, but a weird side effect of that is actually makes the bass a little bit tighter. It also makes the rest of the frequency range, both mids and the highs, seem a little bit sharper, so as to give you the illusion of getting a more controlled sound that has a little more clarity and quality. But if you switch back to standard mode, you'll realize that spatial audio actually results in a loss of detail. So I wouldn't recommend using it. But if you have the buds and you are craving for a slightly more tighter bass, you might want to try spatial audio for music. But if you want your detail preserved, stick to standard. Now, they do advertise a low latency gaming mode, and in my experience, it did work quite well. The latency was low enough that it was simply not noticeable, and positional audio was actually pretty decent. Not the best I've ever heard, but very, very usable indeed. The only thing it's let down by is the sound quality. Now, games did sound quite nice, but given that that bass is a little bloated and the highs are a little bit harsh, in certain games for explosions or certain higher frequency sound effects, they can sound a little bit fatiguing. So on that account, they do let you down a little bit. But overall, the gaming experience was pretty darn good, and I would give these a solid 7 out of 10 for gaming. Now, when it comes to battery life, now the case is a little bit slim, so they have reduced the amount of charge that it can hold, but it still gives you a solid 18 hours of spare charge. The earbuds themselves, however, give you 7 hours of running time with ANC on, which is really, really good. So together with the case, that's 25 hours, which I find to be plenty. Battery life, 8 out of 10. So who are these earphones really for? Well, the NB2 Pro is unmatched in terms of design and build quality at this price. Presentation is similarly fantastic. Fit and finish and comfort are top notch. Features wise, it's packed to the absolute gills, and while the usability is a little bit half-baked, I wouldn't call it unusable at all. They were relatively convenient, just not very customizable, and could use some improvement on that sense. Now the sound quality isn't what I would call terrible. It's actually really decent. It's just that the tuning is a little off. If you can manage to tune the highs and lows out a little bit, I think you'll get a better sound overall, and it has a nice gaming mode as a bonus. Now, if you happen to be someone who's budget conscious, who wants something that looks and feels premium, has decent sound but really good noise cancelling if you're on the move, flying around the country for work perhaps, then I can easily recommend these to you. For $80, they are quite frankly solid bang for buck, and you can get your hands on them in the next couple of days, so that's a little bit of a bonus. Now I will be trying the Neo Buds Pro when they do come in, and I will be comparing the two, so you might want to stay subscribed for that one. Till next time, stay happy, stay peaceful, stay colorful.